take some like donuts or something. Ah, so good. But favorite moments for me, I love the jazz quartet thing. Remember that?
Yeah, the jazz quartet definitely pretty awesome moment.
Because Eliza comes up with a good idea on her own, and Henry's like, "Whoa, that's actually really good." And then like and he says, "You have to pitch this to the boss. I don't want to take credit for it. You have to own this." And she keeps putting it off because she's afraid to. She's not confrontational, which is another thing that I feel like, you know, the connected age of the of information, you know, has made people like less willing to confront people or make those face-to-face encounters. You know, it's like it's scary. It's like awkward for a lot of people. I noticed that. So she's scared to like talk to her own boss. But then on the flip side, she's like the top salesperson consistently for the company. You know, like you would think she could do it, but like oh no, you pitch the idea to him. But he loves it. The boss loves it. And they do like invisible like jazz quartet things. So like the boss starts with the what you call it, a cello, right? The
boom, stand-up bass, that boom boom boom.
Yeah, there you go. What do you call that? The stand-up bass? Isn't that cello?
It's a stand-up bass.
Boom, boom, boom.
I mean, you could probably like pizzicato a cello and get roughly the same effect.
Yeah, but yeah, it's kind of like what he was holding. It was like tall, like as tall as him. And then what was Henry playing on his little air instrument?
The drum, like he was on
the hi-hat.
Yeah, the hi-hat. Yeah.
And then the boss like, bring it in, Eliza. You do the
Eliza on the French horn.
On the French horn, she's like, I don't even know our French horn. She's like, beep 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 beep.
I think she's like, I don't know what a French horn sounds like.
I like it's, you know, this show just makes you smile, but then like at this part's one I'm sorry, but I'm gonna be sentimental. Like it really touches my heart, and I get a little choked up. I'm like, oh, I totally get what they're feeling there. I totally get what's going on here. You know, it's so good. Like, part of me feels like they try to go. Maybe they knew that the show wasn't gonna last long because they really kind of rushed in those last 5 unaired episodes.
Yeah,
it feels like they rushed into the whole Henry Eliza romance thing. Now, mind you, one of the tropes in a lot of sitcoms that have the romantic element is that there's always this romantic tension, right? And they always play that up, and the main characters keep missing each other for whatever reason. They never quite express it, but you know it's there, and it's like, just go for it already. Yeah. But here they went for it, so that's cool. That they took. That's a very bold move. And then you're like, whoa, this is too much, too fast. But then everything just completely goes crazy. But
in this one, they keep going for it, and it keeps falling apart as they're going for it. Like
they're taking turns too. You notice that?
Yeah, the back and forth is really, really heavy on it.
Terrible timing for both of them.
Although one of those moments, like we're talking about favorite moments, one of those moments that really caught me was when Eliza finally like confronts her role model / old nemesis, I guess.
Oh, that was so good. That was one of those stories that I totally related to.
Like when you see them both, like when he's like, "Oh, I burned her," it's like, "Go ahead, go now, you burn her," and like it's just such this geeky, total, you know. Oh, I went for it. I burned them, and they're walking away like they just dropped the mic on stage at the end of freaking 8 Mile. They're like, "What up?" And but it was so weak, and everyone was like, "What?"
Henry tries for like a couple episodes at least to like work on a burning thing. He's trying to like be cool and more like, you know, friendly and outgoing, and like. The one story they do with the book club and like the tall girl that like is into him, but he totally shuts her down because he has Julia or whatever, and the way he shuts her down is so like mean, like but because he's so cold and like cut and dry with things. Like when you're dealing with someone's emotions, you have to like soften the blow and give them some positives to walk away with. Like, you're beautiful. You know, if I was single, I would totally, you know, explore that possibility. But I have someone. But he was like, I'm not really interested in this prospect. You're not my type, and I have someone. Now he didn't even say he had someone. He just completely shut her down. Like, you're really not my thing. Like, wow, Henry.
That's his character, though. Because I mean, think about Cookie Girl.
Oh
You know?
my
He's just
gosh.
like, oh, I don't want to ruin your numbers. Keep your cookie, yada yada. It's just oblivious of how a person handles that as a compassionate human being.
It's so true. I almost forgot about that. My goodness. But back to the story you mentioned. I'm glad you brought that up because I almost forgot about that. That episode where like, you know, Henry talks about the need to have a role model. It made me think about a lot of stuff in my life too, and but like when Eliza chooses the one girl in her childhood that completely scarred her as a role model because she was voted most popular and most likely to succeed and all this stuff in the high school yearbook. And Henry was like, well, more than likely, she's still going to be a mean-spirited person, and that's probably not a good person to have as a role model. And she was expecting that maybe, like, she wouldn't be as successful, or she, you know, like, it would be like the typical story where you're really cool and popular in high school, and then you fall off and start working at a fast food place, and you're just in a dead-end job or whatever, right? And still living in the same town you grew up in, kind of thing. But no, she's highly successful. She's a published author. She has a local book signing / Q&A, and Eliza goes to it. Like, she stalks her all over Instagram and Facebook. Oh, she has beautiful kids. She's got a nice house. Wow, she's really doing it up. Look at her car and all that stuff. And it turns out that that she wrote a cookbook, right? Like, it's something about I don't know, fancy meals made easy, but then she gave a backstory to like how she struggled as a young person. He's like, I was never cool, I was never liked, I was voted fugly, or most butt, that's the phrase. And that was Eliza's story. She stole Eliza's story, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that is such a violation, stealing someone's story. You don't do that. That's to me, that's worse than punching someone in the gut when they're not like ready for it, you know? I mean, you shouldn't punch someone in the gut, period, unless they ask for it. Like, yeah, let's try it.
Even if they ask for it, I'd be hesitant.
I know, right? It might be a trick. Like, go ahead, punch me in the gut. Go ahead, I gotta take it. It's like, what are you gonna do in return?
You know, it's like, oh, go ahead, punch me in the gut. Houdini said that once. Once. All right, like, no.
Some things you never come back from.
Yeah, like, no, rip. Not doing it.
That's that particular episode. Oof, so many emotions just came through me because, like, when you have a story, that's such a, like, I feel like one of the most powerful things that we have as human beings is the ability to tell stories. We're all storytellers to some degree, and when you share that story, it makes you so vulnerable, and for someone to take that and make it their own without giving you proper credit, ooh. And then I mean, basically that was the main reason she was successful, is because people first felt like they could identify with her, like, oh, you used to be a loser, but now you're awesome, and I'm a loser now, so maybe I could be awesome, you know? That's the way people play it out in their heads. And she's selling lies. It's like, oh man, come on. And I'm such a big believer in authenticity, so I don't like when people do that kind of stuff. Anyway, great show. I love this show, and I gotta say, like, when you look at the other stuff that ABC has, I feel like this was such a good fit for them. It really rounded up their lineup. It rounded it out. I mean, they got Once Upon a Time.
Great show.
What else do they have over there? I can't even think now. That is a great show.
Dude, I don't really have TV. I watch everything on the internet now, so.
Yeah, it's weird now, right? Like, we're not aware of that stuff. Like, I got cable because I got suckered into it, because that's the only way I can save on my internet. Go figure. But it's like watching it now. It's so weird. It's like commercials. It's kind of nice, but I know it's a trap too.
Yeah.
TV, you know, we talked about this before. TV could be a bottomless pit of a time sucker. Let's move on to our next topic, which is social media and video games. And, talking about Selfie, which is very hip with the way they talk about social media and current trends. Even, like, the overlays they have on the show, showing, like, a tweet going out or a Facebook page. Like, they do really cool things like that. Just the production value on the show is great. But, like, how about social media, the way it's used in video games? I feel like there's such an opportunity there. We have social media everywhere, right? And many people dislike social media because of how incorrectly it's used, right? It creates spam and it creates enemies. There's so much noise, it makes it hard to find quality content and authentic people to engage with. But the thing is, the promise of social media, I think, is a beautiful thing. It's an awesome thing because now more than ever, information can travel at blazing fast speeds. You're not waiting for snail mail. You're not waiting for a horse and carriage to deliver stuff, And we take that for granted. There's still so much more potential for social media, especially in video games. For example, now, gifting. Anybody on Facebook knows very well that gifting is a big thing. And sometimes it's annoying, like these game invites and the gifting can be relentless. And it's like, it adds so much spam sometimes. But it's got to be more than that, right? It's got to be more to, like, the use of social media beyond, like, hey, let's try to get as many people playing our game so we could, like, get our ads in front of more people. And then the ad buys will go up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's a big thing. Like, okay, I'm gonna break out my geekdom real quick. You mentioned Facebook games. I don't know if you know this, but Video Game High School. You ever watch it?
Yes, but yeah, what's his Eugene Wong is his name?
Yeah.
The one no, Freddie Wong. Freddie Wong. He does the crazy special effects videos.
Yep. Season 3 just came to Netflix, which is usually where I watch it, and it's the last season. They actually introduced the social gamers.
Now, was it the last season because that's what the way they planned it, or?
I believe the way they wrapped it.
I saw season
like
2.
There should have been another one.
Oh, okay.
But they wrapped it about as well as they could. I don't know.
The main character, the protagonist, he's been on other stuff now too. The actor.
Yeah, but it's very, I don't know. I'd say it's got kind of a controversial ending.
Oh boy.
Yeah. If you haven't seen it, I suggest definitely checking it out.
Okay.
But
I'm gonna make a note of that.
Yeah. I think there's good parts of social media and gaming and bad parts. There's the social gaming where you're right. I don't want to have 30 gajillion people who are like, hey, here's Candy Crush, here's Farmville, freaking whatever. It drives me nuts. I go on huge hiatuses just entirely away from Facebook because of it.
Yeah, and I get it why it is that way, because if you're not paying with actual dollars, then the people are another form of currency, social currency. It's a thing.
Right. But there's also the advantages of social media and gaming as well, because then you've got to look at, if we, like, when we go live here on Twitch, it'll auto tweet. It'll tweet and let people know, hey, we're here doing this, just to kind of get that information out. Now, granted, there's still some level of them that's like, hey, Twitch needs its ad revenue out of it. But it also lets people know who are looking for the content that they can find it there. And I think that's a more palatable social media experience over the, oh, I just got a cow, let me tell everybody. Oh, and now I've got a chick. Oh, I blew my nose in the tutorial, let me tell everybody. That gets abrasive. That's when I feel like it's assaulting my wall or my eyes even. I'm like, man, I could care less that this person just, pulled a triple double backseat flip and flip your friends on Facebook. It's maddening.
But sometimes, like, it's about gating the frequency, I guess you could say, of the how much those updates are going out. Because sometimes it's nice when you see someone sharing a rare feat with their friends, or just a quick like a digest of yesterday I played the following video games. Like, oh, I never heard of these. I should check them out. Like, 'cause it lets people know what you've been up to. So like if they just make it more digestible, less frequent, then there's more value in each individual update.
Yeah, and I'm more willing to read them.
Yeah.
You know, if it's like, oh, my buddy has accomplished 76 things in this Facebook game, that's cool. I get one tweet that's like, hey, over the last week, I've played these 4 games. And I'm like, well, I like that one. And I like that one. And I haven't heard of those two. I'll go look those two up. The fact that I got one message means I'll read it. Over the 67, I could care less. And it could have whatever it wants. It could have something really important in there. And I'm just like, there's 67 of them. I'm not weeding through this to find, the one cool thing you did. Now, there's other options in social media to kind of keep it to yourself, I guess, so it just shows on your page, but then you're not sharing the advantages. I mean,
Yeah.
I dislike the Facebook game social model, but I really enjoy other aspects of like, it's why I think I go to Twitter over Facebook, is because Twitter gives me small things. Hey, I'm streaming this game, or hey, I've played this game, or these people are, doing short, easy to take in, cool.
Yep.
I don't have to hear about, Johnny Farmville getting his 700th cow to produce milk.
I wouldn't be surprised if Facebook ends up doing maybe a different kind of update where it's a tidbit. Like, do you have a character limit, and then it's a different feed. I can see Facebook doing that because you need something that's digestible, something that's easy to sift through. And that's why Twitter is so wonderful. There's just too much noise, and someone puts like a huge photo in their stream, and you're scrolling down, then it's got to refresh to load more stuff, and you're scrolling down. Like, who really does that? Like, you basically look at the top of your feed, and if it's something interesting, you stop and look at it, and if not, you move on. And then once in a while, like with the little sidebar that Facebook has now, like the little updates, you see someone like this thing, or someone commenting on your blah, blah, blah. You might notice something going on that your friends are up to. You have your notifications, but still, it's just so much noise that it's, like you said, you start tuning it out after a while, especially if all the things look alike. That people need to, like, if games are sending out tweets, or if you're using like something like Twitch, the Twitch has a built-in tweet thing, you should be able to always customize that thing. And it should encourage you to customize the message so you make it your own. It always pre-populates it with something, but some of the Facebook sharing, the only thing it lets you change is, are you going to share this or not? But it won't let you customize the message, which I think is really bad, because then everything looks the same in your timeline. It's like, well, if the 10 things look alike, I'm going to ignore everything that looks like that because it's annoying now.
Yeah, and if I see it too much, I'm just going to block them.
Yeah, which is an option too. You could block the whole person or block the app as a whole as well.
Mm-hmm. And then they're getting nothing out of doing all of that annoyance, It's ridiculous to me.
It does get crazy, but I think there's still a lot of really cool ways that social media can add value and enhance the experience, but not like hinder it. Whereas you can only get this if you connect Facebook. You can only get this if you tweet. Because that could sometimes be a bad thing to do as well. Because some people may not want to. You don't want people to sign up for those things begrudgingly or connect those things begrudgingly just to get a freebie. Like, I really don't want to connect another app. I really don't want to sign up for Facebook, period. But there's people that still don't want it. There's people that left Facebook. There's people that refuse to go on it because of all the crap. But you require, like, this is the only way you get this limited time thing. I don't know how I feel about that. I think it's kind of dirtbaggy, to be honest. But imagine, like, a good example of what I have in mind is something that Choice Chamber and other games are doing, where you have a crowdsourced experience. It's uber interactive, where you're not just, tweeting about or posting to Facebook about what you're doing, but in sharing that experience, people become part of it, and it creates this sense of momentum of activity from event to event. You know, imagine if someone created a persistent world where these social conversations change what happens in that world, and it becomes this ever-evolving thing just based upon everybody's imagination and what's trending at the time. You know, there's a lot of neat things you could do. Like, the technology is there. Why isn't it being used for good?
I agree it can be good, but there's also a negative side of that. I love Choice Chamber. As a matter of fact, if I get like I that's one of those games I've got on my wish list. I want to eventually have Choice Chamber because I love that people can interact and kind of change the experience.
By the way, they sponsored a mega awesome giveaway, and I might have a hookup for you. So
that would be phenomenal.
Don't buy it. I'll hook you up. You're part of the team.
The other thing though to me is you can see it go really negatively. Like, have you ever seen Twitch plays Pokemon? That's 5,000 trolls spamming random directions with a character who I think has not made it out of the second city yet. Like, it's just a bunch of people spamming random instructions to and it's not accomplishing anything. It's just giving people a place to spam chat, I guess, and so it's not near as socially interactive. I love the idea behind Choice Chamber because it gives people an idea to unify on something. But when you do it as here's a bot that's just gonna, do whatever you tell it, it's like when what was it? Awesome Games Done Quick did TaskBot Plays Twitch. And it was just such a spamming ridiculous amount of what is this? It was crazy,
Well, see, the thing about it is there needs to be a sense of mutual benefit. So, to limit and that'll prevent the trolling. But like, if you have leaderboards where the person's shouted out for giving the most positive, the most being involved in the most voting polls on Choice Chamber, or being part of the longest runs, then it's like you're creating a sort of team, a little like a sideline, and they feel like they're playing with you, and it almost becomes like what we used to feel with the couch co-op experience. But we're miles apart from each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, the trolley fund has its place as well, because let's just face it, that's like half of the internet, if not more. Half of the people on Twitch go on there just to troll others and BM. And then another major portion of the remaining half, go there for the cleavage, and then there's everyone else, and that's sadly the state of things.
I've got a social media gift to see, which kind of sums up what I've been saying this whole time. I want someone to make a social media game where I can put up my Facebook feed, and every time someone posts something about a game, I can use my mouse and just shoot it, and it just blows it off of my timeline, just boom.
Oh, man.
It would be like Duck Hunt, but it would be so much more satisfying because it'd be like shooting the laughing dog. Because you posted a Farmville thing. Kaboom! No one cares.
One of my favorite games in the early 90s was Mech Blast, where little like Apple IIs were coming down like Space Invader style, and you get to shoot them down. That could totally work. Blast this piece of ignorance out of your timeline. And you know what, that could be great. The problem is, the only reason that can't happen is because it might be considered like that gray area where it's defamation of character. They have to like blurt out the names and stuff. But it'd be like, you could there's ways around that. But you have someone that's like, you can have people. I like this idea, because half the people will vote on what the dumbest things on the timelines are, and they'll be added to a queue, and then people can upvote or downvote that. Like, oh my gosh, that's really dumb. Like, oh, look at that. Like, you could do this with video games too. Like, imagine like people that are being really toxic in League of Legends or Heroes of the Storm, they get added to a stupid queue. And then people will go, "Oh wow, that's a really ignorant thing to say." Like that thing he said about your mother, and that other thing he said about your dog. That was unnecessary. Where did that even come from? And then you get at it, and they like this wall of shame, which helps people become accountable. But they make a game out of it. You know, game mechanics. That's a whole other thing. Like there's so many ways to gamify this stuff.
I mean, I would do it on any social media site. Like we always see these videos about dumbest tweets or dumbest Facebook post. Let me shoot it. Like give me a crosshair, give me a little option. I can click the little thing. It starts the game, and I can just blast them out of my timeline or blast them off.
It could be like a typing game too. It could be like a typing game. Like the words are coming down a little bit. You have to type them real quick, you know. But like they'll be worth more points depending on how many people upvote it, right? Oh man, this could work, dude.
I would do something like that.
You better copyright it or start a Kickstarter or something.
Hey, I've got proof right here. You heard it here first.
That's right.
Time.
They'll take that idea as Oolong's idea. But you know, there's been some good attempts. Like Xbox Live had that 1 versus 100 thing, which I thought was brilliant. And the way they tied social media into it, and like all this buzz started going around. Like people were posting to Facebook and Twitter. Like they really made it easy to share these meaningful messages, and everybody felt like they were part of this game show. And I was like, man, this is crazy. Like, and you started like seeing your friends in the audience, like, oh, my friend's playing this too. He just won. Oh, he's one of the contestants. Like, it was just such a cool idea. And then they had live commentary from show hosts, and it was just such a brilliant idea. The way they tied in everything, and social media isn't what it is today. Like, wasn't back then what it is today. But it's crazy. There's another thing I saw. My friend tagged me on Twitter, and she said, "Pass the pistachio," and I was like, "Pass the pistachio," and he said, "I just passed the pistachio to YogiZilla for a chance to win $1,000 and blah 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 blah." And I was like, "What's this about?" And like, is this? You know what I mean? So the first thing I wrote was like, "Is this really you, Jamie?" And she's like, "Lol, yes, it's a contest, and blah blah blah." And I said, "All right." So I said, I clicked the link, and then it was a little thing where you could get into the sweepstake, and then you tag someone else, and it's like a pay it forward type thing. Really simple. You don't like spend. They ask you tag 100 people to enter the thingy. No, pass the pistachio to one person. Tag one person you really would like to win money. Boom, here you go.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so
see, I think that's done well as opposed to that massive abrasive. It's nice. It's subtle. You can just boop. Here you go.
And it creates a conversation. Like it made me curious. At first, I thought it was spam, but you know, it was a good friend of mine, and I was like, I want to believe this is really you, and not a bot that took over your account. And then she's like, yeah, it's for reals. And you know, because you gotta always be careful with links. That's the thing.
Yeah.
But there's so much potential out there. Let's move on. We're gonna today on the gaming verse. We're gonna be talking about our favorite gaming indulgences. And this segment is going to be something we're going to try to do more often when we're not covering shows that we're into or movies. But we're going to talk about, you know, our favorite video games these days and a little tech talk. We've been playing some betas, and boy, oh boy, it's been fun. But first, Oolong, I have a bit of a confession to make. I know we don't have too much time. But I got to share this confession. I got to get off my chest. I might lose some geek cred here. But right now, for a while, I've been actually gaming on mostly a dual core for like the past 6 years. I know, but you know what? The way I have it set up, I can still play almost all the games today on decent settings without any slowdown. So it just goes to show you don't have to have bleeding edge technology to have a satisfying game experience. Now I do have a quad core processor. But the motherboard to go with it is kind of crappy. A friend gave it to me, and it's one of those baby ATX motherboards, which have like, you know, limited slots for everything. So like it only has 2 RAM slots, and I have 4 2GB HyperX RAM chips. So I'm like, oh, that's not gonna work.
4 2 gigs?
Yeah.
Oh no.
What?
No.
See, he's gonna give me a hard time. I knew you were giving me a hard time about it.
Yeah, it has to. I mean, dude, I think you might be better off taking some memory out of your phone and just see if you can slot it.
Oh no! Don't be that PC elitist now. Come on now. We already had that stigma. But hey, my gaming rig has served me well. Like I played games at like highest settings a lot of times, and it runs fine.
Yeah.
Now, when I try to stream it, that's a whole other story. So eventually, before I could do the quad core upgrade, I need to get a better motherboard and some, and then I can use my existing memory. Okay, 8 gigs for most people is more than enough. Yeah, because anything beyond that, it depends on your operating system. Like if you're not on the proper operating system, it's not gonna page anything beyond 8 gigs.
Yeah.
It's just looks good on paper. Like, I have 32 gigs of RAM. Yeah, great. What does your operating system recognize? 8. Oh, that's good. Good for you. But the thing about it though, now that I put that out there and I've made myself vulnerable, I want you guys to know, don't feel bad if your rig isn't like bleeding edge, because a lot of that's just people trying to get the extra couple of FPS out of the game, and just getting into this little manifest, machismo, like comparing the rigs, like my rig is better than you, it's more manly, blah blah blah. But the bottlenecks in most gaming rigs and most computers, period, are where you least expect it. People don't think about these things. They always think about the graphics card, and they think about the processor. But what about the RAM? The system bus speed. You can have a great CPU, top of the line CPU, top of the line video card. Like a friend of mine just rubbed in my face. He's like, "Oh, I just paid $1,200 for the Titan, the NVIDIA Titan card." I'm like, "Wow, you have way too much free money and free time."
Yeah.
Like, that's overkill.
That is a severely ridiculous overexpense.
Yeah, they're not even they haven't even unlocked, like, I read somewhere they've unlocked maybe 20% of its full potential. But you buy that, you're future proofed. But
hopefully,
that whole graphics card will cost more than a typical rig will cost you total.
Yeah.
But people don't think about system bus speed, the cooling, because if your components get really hot, they start to slow down. And power. The PSU, you can imagine having all these great components and then having a crappy power supply, frying that stuff and ruining. But people do that all the time.
The first thing I do when I look at building or making a system is I look at, okay, what kind of power is it going to need? Great, I'm going to go bigger. Like, I always overbuy my power supply. And
another thing that's good too is getting a power supply that has good voltage regulation, because then it won't always peak on the wattage. It'll regulate it depending on how much power you actually need, rather than always running on a high level. You know what I mean? People think they get like a 1,000 or even an 800 or 700 watt power supply, which is better than what most stock computers come with. Most stock computers come with like a 300 to 500 watt power supply, which when you start adding components is not going to run you very well, especially if you're running dual video cards and like other additional hard drives, But yeah, that voltage regulation, the computer will actually use less electricity than a TV most of the time, and TVs don't use that much actually. Like, if you look in your home, typically like washer, dryer, and dishwashers are the things that are killing the most power. But anyway, I'm going to a whole other tangent, but that's a little tidbit there. But yeah, good power supply is so important. You gotta make sure that power supply has a nice fan on it that isn't likely to die. It's gonna keep the system cool. Maybe you want one that doesn't have as loud of a fan on there, because that can make a difference. You get a lot more ambient noise. So many things you gotta think about. But I got a lot of high quality components. Little by little, I'm building a better computer, but I'm stuck on that one bottleneck. I need a good motherboard to put that processor in, so then I'll be on quad core, and then I can put my memory in, because HyperX is pretty legit. It's not like super top of the line, but when I upgraded to the HyperX memory as opposed to like the made in Taiwan no name brand memory, actually it was Samsung chips, so they're decent, but still it was like no name kind of Samsung stuff.
Yeah,
I put the HyperX in there with the little cooling sinks on there, and it made such a difference. Yeah, BFT says that too. Like, having good RAM can actually help a computer. It does.
Oh yeah.
I felt the difference. Like, things loaded up faster. They didn't have to slow down. A lot of that sometimes too is also you have to reinstall your operating system. It's always good to do an overhaul, but who really does that? It's a lot of work. Reinstalling all your drivers from scratch and backing up all your data. The average person doesn't do that.
I know I'm a weird breed, but like every now and again, I'm like, oh, it's been about 6 months to a year. Time to do the whole backup and recovery, start from scratch.
Yeah, it's good to do it. If not every year, at least every couple of years.
Like a good spring cleaning. If I'm gonna spring clean the house, I might as well spring clean the computer because while I'm cleaning the house, I'm backing everything up or I'm installing stuff. And
Yeah, it used to be an absolute requirement back in the day before NTFS because the file system was so bloated that after you uninstall and install stuff, even after defragmenting and doing check disk to get your hard drive sorted and making everything load faster and page properly, there's things were just in such shambles. There's so many orphan files and broken drivers and weird stuff going on in the background. Your registry was corrupt. It's like, all right, yeah, I need to reinstall. I can't patch this up anymore. It's a life support. It's time to reinstall and start from scratch, clean slate. But not as much. Say what you want about Microsoft, folks, but from Windows Vista and up, they've kind of perfected it. Actually, I think. Well, I know people hated Vista, but it wasn't as bad. People said the first year, yeah. Actually, for a while, I was a big Windows 2000 guy because that had such a small footprint and never gave me problems. All the drivers worked properly, it ran smoothly, and it had the huge bloated footprint that some operating systems do.
yeah,
I felt like about Windows 2000, like some people do about Windows XP. But that's a whole other story. But moving on.
I was gonna say we can't start this. My
Yeah.
Linux will come out. And...
I mean, I would love to have that kind of time to play with Linux again, like I used to back in the days. But Linux is basically the only reason you use Linux is just so you can geek out. But it's just not practical. Out of the box, there's just so much shit you gotta do. Running wine and fucking. Oops. Excuse me. Drop the F bomb. Sorry, folks. I have to edit that out. But so much for being family friendly.
Right? Yeah. Onward to the next conversation, Mister.
I'm passionate about the tech, man. I'm passionate about the tech.
Onward to the next topic. Hashtag we saw what you did there.
I know. But Gaming History 101 has a game club. And it's for Rocket Knight Adventures on the Sega Genesis. Hey! Guy Han Dark in the chat says, wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey stuff. Whoop! Got it. People get the loves. We're not talking about much Doctor Who today, though. But hello, Guy Han Dark. How are you? But, yeah, so Rocket Knight Adventure. I think they're wrapping up that game club this coming Tuesday. So I'm going to try to beat this game so I can join them and talk about the game. I beat it back in the days, but I would like to revisit it. So it might be another Retro Friday on a Saturday today. We'll see. But we're definitely going to play some post-show Heroes of the Storm. That's been the game that's been consuming our hearts and souls. Before we talk about Heroes of the Storm, we're probably going to go off on tangents there. I want to say that SoulForge and Hearthstone are both on Android now. And, yeah, you guys got to check it out. I want to also say that I've also been back on the platforming game kick. And you guys will see that I'm going to be playing a lot of games like Wings of V, or is it Wings of Vi? I'm not sure.
Wings of V.
It's a V, okay. Bunny Must Die, Chelsea and the Seven Devils. What the heck? It is this weird Japanese action platformer where you have to unlock things because you're cursed. And some of the things that you unlock are things like being able to walk backwards. It's very strange. I'm going to upload one of the videos today on the Geeky Antics YouTube. Another thing that I played that's really good, Metroidvania style game, Valda's Story, Abyssal City. Really good game with super hard boss battles. And you mentioned before Strider. I haven't played it yet, the new one, but I'm really curious because I love the original one. The one on NES and the arcade game and the Sega Genesis game, which was actually a really good port. Oh!
Yeah, they did really well.
Yeah, BFT mentioned it. I forgot to mention it before. He said Artemis. He said it's a 6-player Starship Bridge simulator. That sounds fantastic. I'm going to have to put that here on the list up next to Starbound and Starpoint Gemini. 6-player Star Bridge. Starship Bridge Simulator. That sounds fantastic. I'm really excited about that. That sounds really cool. It's something like playing FTO made me want to have something like that. And then there's like that one game called Star Command, but it's not quite the same. And that just sounds like it might be what I've been looking for. So,
Could be.
But let's talk about Heroes of the Storm. We've been, well, me in particular. Like, I think the Rainbow Six Siege beta sucked you away. Like, you were all hard in like with the Heroes of the Storm with me, and then like I lost my wingman. You were like,
that alpha was so good. Like it sucked me in. It was amazing. It's over now.
Okay, thank goodness. Cause now you can come back to us.
I'm back to Heroes of the Storm pretty hard.
Yeah, cause I remember I was there when you got the email, or you realized you got the email. You're like, oh, dude, good news. I'm like, you want $1 million? You're gonna share it with us, and we're gonna be rich. I'm gonna be happy and no more worries. And you're like, no, better. I'm like, better than that? No financial worries? What could be better than that? Oh, you got a bag full of burgers. No, better than that. Like, you're lying. Lifetime supply pizza. No. I got accepted into the alpha for Rainbow Six Siege. I'm like, hashtag no way. Hashtag don't care. Let's play HOTS.
But
I'm kidding.
It was so good. Like, even for alpha, they did so well with it.
I love the Tom Clancy games, so I'm a little jelly.
Yeah, I'll say it right now, better than Call of Duty easily.
Was there even a doubt?
Like it came really close to better than Counter-Strike. I know like a few people are gonna get upset when I say that, but better than CS:GO. It was really well done, very competitive, very, very nice for an alpha. I can't wait to see what they do in beta and the full release.
I love those tactical shooters, so you didn't even have to sell me on it. I'm already sold.
Right. But now I'm back to the Heroes of the Storm. I've returned to the Nexus.
And yeah, we're doing, folks, we're doing ranked team play. It's casual, but we also are competitive. So we're actually, doing parts. We're doing sessions where we actually do training, formal training, and have a team captain / shot caller. We do post-game strategy talk, pre-game strategy talk. We get deep in it, but then most of the time we're just trying to have fun with it and develop our natural, dynamics or synergies together. That's the best way to approach it. But even when you have people that really get deflated when they lose. It's like, all right, let's talk about what went wrong. What did we do well, and what could we have done better? I always say, I wrote a big article about it. I don't know if you had a chance to see it yet. If you head over to geekyanswers.net/blog, I talk about some of my observations in PvP games, MOBAs, but particularly obviously Heroes of the Storm, and what needs to happen. One of the biggest thing is be self-accountable, own your own mistakes. There's so much of people pointing out other people's mistakes, and those people are usually the ones that are least contributing and performing the worst. But those are the most vocal people because they're so bitter, and they don't realize, well, if you focus less on what everyone else is doing, you can become better at what you're doing, and then inspire others to play at your level, rather than telling someone you suck, whatever. I can't say it because I might drop another F-bomb, but it gets pretty
be constructive, basically. Don't just sit there and go, well, here's where you messed up. Anytime you go into anything, I like to look at it and go, what could I have done to change the outcome?
Exactly.
I can't control teammates. I can only control me. So I can't work on my teammates. I have to work on me.
Exactly. You can't control the world. You can control your own attitude and what you do. Yep. And that's the best way to approach life in general. And I hope that Blizzard works more on the onboarding process, because now, since they had the Founders Pack and people were able to buy in, they got rid of it now, but there's still beta keys in circulation and the whole friend program. Some select people are getting beta keys to give to their friends. Many of us on Geeky Answers Network got a bunch of keys to give out. We still have some in the stash. But because of the influx of people coming in from League of Legends, I can't tell you how many times I've been in a match and someone like, oh, this is my second game, but I'm diamond or I'm gold in block 5 or gold 3 or whatever in League of Legends. They're like, that's great, but that doesn't matter here. And they're like, lol. Yeah, no, I'm being serious. It really doesn't matter here. Like, you know, that's like saying, you know, me saying I know how to fly a plane, so I'm an excellent helicopter pilot. It's similar, but it's not exactly the same thing.
Yeah, it's even at that point, like with the difference is so drastic. It's like me going, okay, guys, I was semi-professional in Call of Duty, so you should definitely listen to everything I have to say as we're gonna play Smite.
Yeah, see?
What?
Yeah,
No.
and that's a common attitude people have. Like, you always have to be like the best players are the ones that are able to empty their cup and start off fresh. Because if you think that you know everything, how can you learn and get better? Always have the attitude, I could always be better, and I could always improve something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because at any level of competition, that's always the case. But, you know, the Blizzard has removed the Founders Pack, like I mentioned a few times, and they look like they're committing to a more aggressive release schedule. Because they're saying throughout the communications with the beta testing group, and they were even saying in alpha that they're getting ready to get to full release as soon as possible. But I feel like they have to work in the onboarding process to get people out of this mindset of, oh, this is a MOBA, so you play like every other MOBA, and change the way they approach it. Like, this is a team-oriented game. Because I actually have people like in game, they think they have kills, and like, no, those are takedowns. Those are basically assists.
Yeah.
It's very different. And like
participation points.
Exactly, and how involved you are with the team battles, and then they're like, a lot of people are like asking like, where's the score screen? How come there isn't a post game stat screen? And I'm like, why does it matter? Like,
yeah.
But that's what people get stuck on, because there's this need for high individual performance when it should be a focus on what did I bring to my team, how did I help my team, and how well did we play together. But we're doing different squads for the gang, hashtag the gang, which, by the way, if you don't know, that stands for the Geeky Antics Network Global, because we're worldwide, baby. I needed to make it an acronym, so, you know. Or you can just call it Geeky Antics, or Geeky Antics Network for short.
It's just catchier.
I know. Some people have said that it sounds cheesy, like Geeky Antics Network Global. It sounds like something you see on The Simpsons. Exactly. Homer Simpson works at that whatever, something global. Sounds really cheesy, I know, but that's what we're going for. But so we're gonna have we're gonna have squads, different squads. Everybody can be up to 3 team squads. But you have to be level 40 to join the team squad, so it's gonna be rough. But we could do Hero League together. But eventually, when everybody's leveled up, they have 10 heroes or more, and they're level 40, player level 40. We'll have a separate squad for our contributors, the actual core team, people that are part of a stream team, podcasting, or writers. Then we'll have our friends, and then we'll have the community, our followers and viewers and all that. Or maybe there'll be a little mix of both, obviously. But that's what we're kind of looking to do. But right now, we have the Geeky Antics team, and it's just everybody first come, first serve, and then we'll eventually kind of like filter out into different squads. Because obviously, those of us that are very involved with Geeky Antics, we're part of Jive, but better together, because we're always dealing with each other for podcasts and, different things we're working on. So that's kind of how we're going to work it out. But some common pitfalls that I want to address real quick as we we're going to wrap this up in about 8 minutes or so. Now we got about 9 minutes. We're good. But I think some common pitfalls come down to this. The lone wolf mentality. Streaming, which is when you go in one by one to die, rather than grouping up and working together as a team, which goes back to the lone wolfing thing.
Yeah, I call that the lemming line.
The Lemmings. Oh, such a good game.
It's the lemming line. They see the first one do it, and they're like, well, he's in. Now I got to go help him. And then they're like, oh, man, well, that's our support. We got to go in with our support. And at the end of the line is the tank who's like, well, it's cool. I'm tanky. I can just tank everything, and I'll chase that person they got down to a sliver, and I'm dead.
Or conversely, the tank that goes in first but doesn't wait for his teammates to be nearby, and he says, oh, I'll just initiate right now and wait until you guys come back. And it's like, but you're tanky, but you can't survive a whole team by yourself.
Yep, that's me. I'm guilty of that one. I'm working on it, but I do that. personally. That's one of my things. Like I'll just go in, I'll be like, well, I'm the tank. Time to go start a team fight.
See, I think one that we all have to work on, I know I definitely have to do it, is map awareness. I try to keep track of the mini map, but every now and then I'll get so focused in what objective I'm taking that I won't realize something as simple as someone backdooring our base. It's like, oh crap, and I'll notice it more before everyone else does, but still, I beat myself up like, I should have caught that sooner. That should not have been a thing. Like, this is a game that would have been winnable, but we just gave them the win. Like, we left our base completely undefended.
Yeah, it's really easy to tunnel vision.
Yeah,
in Heroes, very easy.
It's so fast paced and like it's so fully involved, right? Like other MOBAs are so like slow. It's like now this is the laning phase, and all right, now you're gonna push, and now we're gonna take this little camp here, go back to your lane. All right, okay, now we can maybe start, ganking. All right, go back to your lane.
We're gonna
go back to farming.
We're all gonna reset at base. We're gonna take this objective. We're all gonna reset. Heroes of the Storm. It's like, okay, we got people taking 2-3 objectives at a time, and no one's resetting unless they're super low. It gets crazy.
Yeah, you get caught out so often, like out of mana.
Oh yeah,
not a good place to be if you have a mana bar.
That happened to me yesterday. I was playing Illidan. Started the game, I was out of mana.
Oh, that's not good. Yeah. Wait a... Ah, you got me. He doesn't have a mana bar. He just has cooldowns, silly. I just caught what you said. You clever boy, you. And I like when you typed it in the chat. People were like, all right, go back to base then. B2B. Like,
But I'm Illidan.
But he does. Okay, I guess. That's a good kind of trolling. You got us. That was funny. But another thing that's very common. I'm gonna be giggling about that for a little while now. But under and overcommitting, that's the tricky part, and that's something that a lot of this stuff comes with experience and practice, right? But under and overcommitting, you either undercommit and you don't join team battles soon enough, or you overcommit and you're joining them too fast. You're like too ready to fight or take an objective. You kind of gotta have the sense, like you have to have a sense of, is this something we can win? Is this objective something we could take? What kind of support do I have? Do we have the circumstances in our favor right now? Or should we back off from this? Should we disengage from this? Should we go somewhere else? And that's a general thing.
I think there's another level even of undercommitting, and I see it a lot with assassins and like the really heavy damage dealers. There's times I'll see people who go into a team fight, and they'll start out the team fight with the group. And they're laying down damage, they're doing well. People start getting low, but of course they're going to get focused as a damage dealer, so they're getting low too. Mm-hmm. And instead of going in and going, okay, I can trade my death for 2 or 3 of them, they just go, well, I'm the damage dealer, I have to survive, and they leave the fight early.
Oh, yeah.
Which can lead to 3 or 4 of their teammates dying because their damage dealers may be low, but they're still contributing that damage. So they kind of undercommit in that way, that they're too worried about going back and just they have to survive in a situation where they could have just traded better and given the team as a whole an advantage.
And that's the thing that goes back to the way League of Legends has shifted. Because it's a League of Legends mentality. They didn't invent MOBAs, but they definitely tainted them. And everyone feels like there's this need for individual performance and self-preservation. It's not really. There's rarely this sense of, what can I do for the team? How can I help my team? Even if I die here, what value can I create? Can we tip this so that it's a better trade for us and we can get some momentum going? A lot of times people don't get that. And the thing is, like, Illidan running away from a battle, or even a Sonya, who's not really a damage dealer, but she could be a bit of a bruiser and quite tanky. She's kind of a mix of both as a warrior.
Yeah.
You don't want to walk away from a battle because your sustain comes from engaging and continuing that fight.
Mm-hmm.
So Illidan running away like yoink is one of the worst things you could do, unless he just runs away enough to get a little bit of heal from someone, and then going back into the front line. But if he just completely goes, I'm out of here, you guys figure this out on your own, that's really bad. I agree.
Yeah.
But what's amazing too and this goes back to the loud players, and I'm not to give him a hard time, but a lot of these fundamentals people don't learn it. They just learn the cookie cutter stuff because they see what everyone else does. But I get League of Legends players saying, "Oh, I'm top tier in rank," but they don't know what laning, or they don't know what soaking is.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't know it as laning, but they should still understand like the gist of it. Like, go back to your lanes and soak. What's soaking? What are you thinking? Why would you go back to your lane? To get the experience.
Well, see, soaking is unique to Heroes of the Storm. I think that's one of those aspects why you can say a gold or even a diamond player in League of Legends is stepping into an entirely different world.
Yeah,
Because-
but in every MOBA, pretty much all of them, you have to be in the lane near the kills, the enemy kills, to get that experience. If you're not there, you're not getting that experience, which is why dying or going back to base too often is bad, because you're not there to soak up that XP. Now, they have different terminology, but
Right.
if I say go back, let's go back to our lanes to soak, you may not know what soaking is because that's kind of coined by Heroes of the Storm, but you know what a lane is, and by context clues, you should be able to figure it out if you're a top tier player. You know what I mean?
Right, but at the same time, you look at like League of Legends players. If you if you're a diehard mid player, I used to know a guy who actually played challenger level mid, and his goal was usually push his guy out of lane, get a couple, and then he'd roam. And in this game, you really don't see much roaming. Like, you might have a stealth character that kind of roams just to apply pressure, but the idea of soaking doesn't exist to them, because what they could have got out of that 1 or 2 waves of creeps in League of Legends, they're going to get more out of a kill when they roam and leave their lane empty. Now, the problem is in Heroes, that's not the way it works. You can't just leave your lane, because the experience you would get from those creeps or those minions, especially early game, like pre-level 10, is too good. You can't really pass that up and go,
Unless you have someone rotate, take your spot.
right, like someone has to be there to soak.
Yep.
And I think that's kind of an idea that new Heroes of the Storm players might not grasp, but is definitely something that they should be able to catch on to in the first few games, or a little bit of research on it, because that first level 10, it's huge.
Yeah, it is. And not to mention, even if you get tons of early kills, the experience compared to what you get from soaking is nominal. Like, it's actually better to be in your lane soaking or taking more valuable objectives. The only thing, and the respawn time is also lower before, up through level 13. So you're not really creating a power play. Like, it's a brief window of opportunity you might create from getting kills. But like, this focus on kills more than in any other game is really bad in Heroes of the Storm. Yeah, I think it's bad in League of Legends, but in League of Legends you can justify it because it does help your team snowball, But here, like, if you focus strictly on that and you don't get that it's about objectives and working as a team together, you're gonna miss the point of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the long run, those kills don't do that much for you.
Yeah, a 10-second cooldown plus the fact that they're really fast coming out on their mount to get back into lane.
Yep.
I mean, I've seen games where our team has lost, a couple of players early on, but we still hit level 10, basically a level and a half, if not 2 levels ahead of them, and just steamroll them from that point, because then we use alts, push advantage, and they just don't know what happened. They wake up going, huh? How did our core die?
I tell you what, I've lost games where we had a 5-level advantage, which is supposed to be impossible to come back from. And we've won games where we were on the other side of that, when we were in the deficit, trailing in levels, 2 to 5 levels, the whole time.
Yeah.
So it's all about those objectives, and every game is winnable, more so than any of. I always believe this, but in Heroes of the Storm, you can win at any time. The tide can shift at any time. You never know. It's beautiful the way it's done. But I tell you what, from the games that we've played, I just played today. Even we won all of them, and it felt really nice. It was a good way to start the day. But the one thing I noticed that from the games that I win versus the ones that we lose hard. The difference always comes down to the attitude. When you have a team that's like communicating and they're not chatting, and they're not adding chat that doesn't add value to things, they're encouraging each other. Confidence makes such a big difference. When you lose that confidence, it snowballs so much into like you make more mistakes, you lose morale, you start beating each other up, then everybody else makes more mistakes, and it's a vicious cycle.
Yeah, people start pointing the finger at each other, and that forces players to go on tilt. It can get really ugly really quick.
Yep, that's what me and you are there to keep the peace. But folks, we'll revisit this. I think there's gonna be a lot more Heroes of the Storm talk. Don't forget, go to geekyants.net/blog, and you can see the article there. And then we also have the AM Audio Media interview that's going up there. But we have to wrap things up. It is that time. We're a little over, but we're not too over. We want to shout again. We're going to shout out again our sponsors. Just go over to geekyants.net/sponsors and show some love. And don't forget, Timey-Wimey Tea Time can be enjoyed, and that's hashtag TWTT. You can enjoy us wherever fantastic, beautiful content can be found. Podcast, rather. I don't even know what I'm saying. And that's included, but not limited to Stitcher, iTunes, Zune, TuneIn Radio, and Spreaker. And also make sure you check out our friends at twitch.tv/team/UBN. And our buddies at allgames.com, where you can join us live. Just go into allgames.com every Saturday, unless otherwise advertised. And that's just every other Saturday. We're bi-weekly now, until Doctor Who comes back at least. And we stream live at noon Eastern, 5 p.m. in London, and 4 p.m. in Madrid. And again, visit us at geekyantics.net. And you can tweet me at YogiZilla, the network at Geeky Antics. And Ulan, where can people find you?
Geekyantics.net. I've got a profile there. People could always check that out. Twitch.tv/F8TL_BLADES, or Twitter at FatalBlades, spelled FATLBLADES.
Awesome.
Oh, and if anyone wants to talk about that other topic, very possibly on the Sunday Dose, come see me.
Yes, we'll definitely revisit that other topic. All the hot button topics that we mentioned today, including the one that made me lose my G rating for a second.
Yeah.
It happens.
Well, you put some G in it, but it was not the G you were going for.
Yeah, it's PG. You're allowed one. So, sorry. But anyway, with that, we're going to have our wonderful Scottish outro, and we'll catch you 2 weeks. But in the meantime, don't forget, let's do some Blizzard gaming, some Hearthstone, and some Heroes of the Storm. I'm YogiZilla Pound 1722. Feel free to add me, and then we can connect with the rest of us via proxy. I'll hook you up with Fatal's information. You can stalk him too. So you be like part of the Oolong fan club. All right, folks. We'll catch you next time.
We thank you. We thank you for every crumb, biscuit and cake you bring to the table. Because Doctor Who belongs to all of us. What you bring to the timey-wimey tea time in your live chat participation, comments, likes, shares, tweets and voicemail, all of it means the world to us. Love, true love, never fails. Do you like it? If you like what we're doing, well, tell us for God's sake. Shout it from the rooftops at geekyantics.net. Or call it in, 206-415-4987. That's 206-415-4987. That's it. Bless you. So long. And thanks for all the fish. Hold on, it won't be that long. Just a wee while. Because the timey-wimey tea time will be back. We'll return next Saturday with fresh insights, questions and epiphanies about Doctor Who. And heck yes, everything geek. Maybe same bat time. Absolutely the same bat channel. Every Saturday.
Timey-wimey tea time.
gusta.